The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
We have been playing this game throughout the summer of who wore it best, and right now we're in the midst of number 5. You have until tomorrow to vote on this.
Today.
Today? Okay.
5:30 today.
5:30 today, and then
Phoenix.
Tomorrow we'll announce who's next. Okay.
For the weekend, yes.
Gotcha, for the weekend. All right, so number 5, featuring Brian Klein, Justin Gray, Michael Crabtree, or Patrick Mahomes. Did you have an opinion on this? Who wore it best?
Yeah, I voted Michael Crabtree.
Okay.
I thought his time at Texas Tech was more elite than Patrick's, who would be my number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think post-career, certainly Patrick has had more to offer.
You think?
To Texas Tech and otherwise, certainly in his NFL career. But I would say how the question's worded, letter of the law, I voted Michael Crabtree.
Jeff?
I can make a case for Patrick, and I've said this a couple of times, but there was a long stretch where Michael Crabtree forgot that Texas Tech existed. He took his jersey off.
I understand, but just while he was here and
Patrick Mahomes never took his off.
Okay.
And is still wearing number 5. Now, granted, there's one in front of it now.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still supporting the university. And part of me on all of these includes what they do after for said university. Not necessarily donating money, but just being involved, being a proud Red Raider. Red Raider for life means something around here. And it's obviously between Patrick Mahomes or Michael Crabtree for this. One of them definitely is. One of them took better part of a decade off.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have loved to have had any of that kind of reciprocation for what the fans feel for Crabtree that Mahomes feels for us. And being loyal on that road goes both ways. So there's that connection there. I would probably vote Crabtree because you've got the play of the decade. You've got your number 1 all-time highlight play. As much as Graham Harrell threw the ball, it's the Crabtree catch. It propelled you to be the number 2 ranking in the country, or soon after the number 2 ranking in the country. All of those things matter. He absolutely had more success on the field. But I can make a case for Patrick without hesitation of why it is as close as it is for this vote.
Yeah, and if you took all these winners and made a bracket and called it who wore the double T the best, who wears the double T the best, Patrick might win that. But if it's just the number 5, I think you lean Crabtree there.
All right, so who's winning?
As we sit right now, Justin Gray is in 4th place with 1.4% of the vote.
Okay.
And number 3 is Brian Klein with 2.1% of the vote.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes has 39.9%, sitting in 2nd place, and Michael Crabtree with 56.7% leading the charge.
Down from 58 24 hours ago.
291 total votes as we sit right now.
Okay. I would have to I'm a what did you do on the field on this kind of deal? Not what did you do after you left, and I get your point on, and there's no question that Crabtree kind of forgot us for a while. But I got to just go. I just got to go Crabtree on this. Got to go number 5 for Crabtree.
Mahomes threw for 5,000 yards. He had 50 touchdowns total.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like he wasn't being productive.
Right.
But I also think there's some team success there and how you remember teams. And I said this
he won 2 Biletnikoff Awards back to back.
Yeah, first to do it. I said this when we first brought it up, too, that there's a small segment of the Tech fans that are tired of Patrick Mahomes a little bit.
I think you're the only one that I.
No, not him. There's a section of the fan base that is tired of Pat.
Yeah.
You think?
Yes.
Oh yeah, on
because
social media.
Because he's had too much success. Or?
Yes.
It's Broncos fans.
Okay. that are Red Raiders, that are Broncos fans that are Red Raiders.
Well, but it's also like,
and it's also stuff like this where Patrick's teams here had zero success. I mean, we can say that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're remembering those years as just pure disappointment. Why is he in the same conversation with Michael Crabtree on this? Like that mindset does exist.
it came up when he was in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Oh, what did he do at Tech? It's all post-career. And it came up a lot when we were talking about Adidas or whatever else. It's like,
you guys will find this laughable. I read an editorial in the Kansas City Star yesterday because Joey McGuire was asked by a Kansas City Star reporter about the impact of Mahomes at Texas Tech. Blah 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 blah. And this, they have bought the bait and hook and everything that the Adidas logo and Patrick Mahomes' logo is on the field at Jones Stadium. It's like, man, guys, do just a Scotia reporting. It was a graphic. It is not there. But
I had a buddy that was arguing with people on Twitter that it was there, and I didn't have the heart to tell him he was wrong. I was like, "Did you think the tape and the helicopter were real too?"
It looked good.
It looked
great. I mean, it was
looked
brilliant.
great.
It was brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. But I mean, and I'm look. My picture in Webster's dictionary is right there when you're looking at the definition of gullible. Okay, I am a, not to disparage Mike Gustafson with this, but I'm a gullible Gus. Okay, so I mean you can fool me pretty quickly, but that was, I mean, just look at that just a little bit. Good morning, guys from Dayton, Ohio. I'm happy to live the Pepsi Man life. Be careful out there, Dan in Dallas. Okay. All right, so you have until today to vote on number 5, and then tomorrow we'll give you another number of who wore it best.
We're almost done. There's only a couple more that I think we have left on the docket to do, because then we get into football season and we'll be busy.
We have exactly 2 left. Okay, we have exactly 2 left.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Today is 7/11/24. With this day in sports history, here is Jeff McGuire.
If only there was another 7 there. Then it's 7/11/24/7.
Oh, yeah. Well,
But,
it's
not. 1914, future baseball Hall of Fame slugger Babe Ruth makes his major league debut for the Boston Red Sox. You guys want to guess what he did?
He hit a home run.
No.
He pitched 7 innings.
He pitched. Why? Because he started as a pitcher.
Right.
In a 4-3 win against the Cleveland Naps at Fenway Park.
How many innings did he go?
I don't have that box score.
Okay.
Just that he did, in fact, start the game.
Gotcha.
1950, 17th All-Star Game took place. And that's the part in this that I'm just amazed by. Like, I know that Major League Baseball's history goes back to the 1800s. I know that the Major League Baseball All-Star Game took a while to get started. But the fact that 1950 was just the 17th All-Star Game. I'm like, wow, like that feels like a really low number for 1950. But the National League would win 4-3 in 14 at Comiskey Park. Ted Williams breaks his elbow. It's the first extra inning All-Star Game.
That's unfortunate.
1968, Earl Weaver replaces Hank Bauer as manager of the Orioles. Ugh. 1984, in the 55th All-Star Game, the National League wins 3-1 at Candlestick Park. If I told you the position and the team, do you think you could guess who the MVP was?
Yes.
Catcher, Expos.
That'd be Gary Carter.
That would be Gary Carter. Now,
See,
if
that's my wheelhouse.
Sure.
Early to mid 70s to late 80s, early 90s, late 80s really.
1989, in the 60th All-Star Game, the American League wins 5-3 at Anaheim Stadium.
I can tell you who. This is Bo Jackson.
This is absolutely Bo Jackson. Like, I wasn't going to mention the 1989 All-Star Game.
Yeah,
This was the coming out party for Bo Jackson.
This is at the Big A too.
Hence why I said it's at Anaheim Stadium.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. The big A. Hits
And,
it on the tarp there.
And never forget who was part of the call for that game.
Ronald Reagan.
He was very impressed with Bo Jackson's off-season hobby.
Well, Vin, he really hit the ball there, Vin.
He crushed that ball.
He did crush that ball.
2012, future Basketball Hall of Fame guard Steve Nash is traded by the Phoenix Suns to the Los Angeles Lakers.
He chased a ring and never got one. Or teams used him to try to get an additional one.
I think him more of being used to try to get a ring as opposed to him chasing one.
He wasn't. It wasn't like he was free agent hopping, but teams viewed him as a guy that could help them kind of get to the next level, right?
And in 2023, a year ago today, starting at third base for the American League All-Star team,
Josh Young,
former Red Raider Josh Young. American League wins this game 3-2. It is National Blueberry Muffin Day.
I left one on the counter this morning. I should have grabbed it, man. I had already grabbed something else, and I saw that there. It was left over, and it was nice and looked like it was ready to be eaten, and I left it. I'd love to tell you I left it for the lucky lady, but I just
left it.
I just left it. That's right.
She can have it, but you just left it. Yeah.
Right.
It's also National Mojito Day.
I'm out.
Rum, lime juice, simple syrup, a lot of mint, both in and as a garnish, with topping it off with club soda. I'm in. It's a nice summer refreshing drink. Pain in the neck to make.
Mojito, are you in out?
I don't think I've ever had a true mojito.
So good.
But if you make all of that without the mint,
Well,
I've
that's
had
what makes it a
bunch of those.
mojito. Otherwise, it's basically
Right.
a daiquiri with club soda.
Right.
Beer or mixed drink for you, Rob?
Generally beer.
Okay. And when is your beer and inning, hot dog and inning?
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Is that a day game or a night game?
It's day game.
Oh,
Three.
man.
Well, it's a 3:00 game.
3:00
Yeah.
game. Okay.
It kind of splits the difference.
Big birthday coming up today for this building. Happy birthday. The one, the only David Thetford turned 71 today.
Wow.
I imagine that they will have a birthday extravaganza for him on Saturday, so tune in for that. Also, when I think of David Thetford, I think of a sharp-dressed man. Well, that's because it's also Giorgio Armani's birthday, who turns 90 today.
Okay.
He is a sharp-dressed man.
Hey,
Designs a lot of really expensive clothes.
Armani, yes.
Yes.
Not Thetford.
He comes to work.
He does. He comes to work.
Joey Bosa, 29, Andre Johnson, 43, and Dalton Schultz is 28. And on this day in 1804, proving that history is in fact stranger than fiction, one of the most famous duels in American history, Vice President Aaron Burr fatally shoots his longtime political antagonist Alexander Hamilton. Hamilton, a leading Federalist and the chief architect of the America's political economy, died the following day.
Did you see Hamilton when it was here in town?
No, I've seen it on the one they put out on video.
Yeah.
I have never seen it live. No.
Okay. It was. I thought they did a fantastic job with it. It was not what I expected, but I thought they did a fantastic job.
Yeah,
with
it's a good show.
And that is this day in sports history.
All right, this day in sports history. Thank you, Jeff. 6:51 this morning here on the morning drive.
Can you imagine the uproar now? If any vice president we've had in our lifetimes
How about just anybody?
had a duel, and they were still vice president.
Even a boxing match.
Yeah.
Not even guns.
I mean,
You're just
whoa.
like, hey, let's have a celebrity boxing match.
Right. No, I mean, just a duel, and supposedly Aaron Burr was in 100 duels in his life. Now I don't know if it was 100-0 or if some of those shots missed and how all that worked, but supposedly.
Well, the early musket pistols were not as accurate as a modern firearm by any extent.
Mm-hmm.
On the smooth bore and at 30 or 40 paces each, that's a long shot for a pistol with a smooth bore. So there was a lot of missing, but still.
So I guess if you miss, it just
It depends on the rules of the duel.
Yeah, both.
Some of them move forward, and some of them it's over.
Some of them, yeah.
How many duels would your opponent have to have participated in for you to say never mind?
One.
Yeah,
this guy's been in 15 duels.
Look,
I'm good.
I've had plenty of people that have wanted to beat me up because of my mouth, and my mouth has kind of kept me from getting beat up too. My ability to talk myself out of problems.
Yeah.
Okay. I've talked myself into problems and talked myself out of problems. So it's kind of been one of those deals. I think that's just crazy that took place. But Jeff is our 1%er. Like, have you seen the show 1%? The knowledge show?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. If we had a contestant to represent us, it'd be Jeff.
Dr. Mike Gustafson, sending him first. I might be his backup. I might be his phone a friend, but we're sending the doctor first.
Well, he certainly would be. He might be the sports guy overall, or the baseball. But your broad knowledge is superior to Gus. That's just
I'm not even sure I'm in the ballpark of Gus. There's a reason he's got a doctorate.
I understand.
That's a sharp cat, man.
He wrote a paper.
He's a sharp cat.
He is. There's no
paper.
There's no doubt. Is that the line of the morning so far?
That's good.
Okay. Am I wrong?
Technically, no.
He did write a paper. This is far more complicated than anything I've ever written.
It's like I told a news anchor once in this town that worked for us. She asked me if I thought she was a journalist. I said, no. She goes, what am I? I go, you're a professional reader. She goes, wow. I go, well, let's think about this. You read and you're paid for it.
Yeah.
You're not a journalist. 6:54 this morning here on the Morning Drive. SportsCenter's next.
This is the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
With Rob Breaux in for Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire, I'm Chuck Heinz. Great to have you with us today on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app for that. Visual Edge IT hotline is open. The mobile app presented by Happy State Bank. Let's see here. Bullfighter has given my update here. Beginning of spring, I was at 9-3, 8-4. April 19th, Chuck is at 6-6. I don't remember that.
That's after Bowman was not throwing.
Right. No. Morton.
I'm sorry, not Bowman. Yeah. When Morton wasn't throwing and we were all concerned. And you said, they're going to go 6-6.
May 7th, I was at 8-4. And now July 11th, I'm at 9-3. Okay.
Now, in fairness to the rise here, he was debating between 8-4 and 9-3 today. So he's wobbling up, but he ended up, but he could have very much ended down. And
then I also said, and this is correct, apparently I said at 7:35. You love how I'm just quoted here directly, Rob?
Yeah.
At 7:35 a month ago, I said that Tech would win by less than 10 against North Texas. And I'll stand with that.
No,
man. I'll stand with that. Well, tell me I'm wrong, because there have been times when you should have lost to Houston Baptist. I mean, we should have lost to Sam Houston State a few years ago. I mean, there's been plenty of games that we've damn near laid an egg on that would have been equal to or worse than a North Texas loss.
Not arguing. This
is not the comment anybody wants to hear. I will take you giving up 12 fewer points than you score this year, and be 12-0 and be perfectly happy.
Sure, we all
win
would.
Every game by one, perfectly happy.
Sure, we all would.
Everything after one is ego.
Sure, we all would. All right, Rob. Before we get your thoughts on the 2024 recruiting class and how it's going to have an impact, here's Joey McGuire, because he was asked at Big 12 Media Days how soon the 2024 recruiting class will make an impact.
You'll see week one. Micah Hudson is, a couple of coaches have talked about generational player. Like he is, he's really special. He's extremely athletic, but his maturity level and the love of football and just the love of the locker room. I haven't been around a lot of people like that, but the one thing about that class, I'm really excited. I mean, we have 3 safeties that all ran in the state track meet. They've come in, and I'm anxious to see them. They didn't go through spring because they were still in high school, so I'm anxious to see Malik, Oliver, and Peyton. We had some guys that did come in along with Micah. Will Hammond had an absolutely incredible spring. To give you an idea, he threw 25 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions in every competitive throw in the spring. I've never seen a freshman do that, and he was with the 1s, 2s, and 3s, so that's just not saying that he was with guys, that have the same amount of playing time at the college level. He did it at all levels, so really excited about that class, but you'll see Micah August 31st.
All right, so your take on the 2024 recruiting class, which was like the best in the Big 12, right?
Yeah, it was number 1. I don't want to see any offensive linemen in year 1. I want to see Will Hammond in 4 games, but only because you're up by more than 10 against North Texas and he gets some reps.
Mm-hmm.
I think Micah Hudson will be the one to make the jump immediately. If there was another position, I think he brings up safety because that's another position where we're going to see a lot of young guys. If I asked you, Chuck, there's a website called ourlads.com that has depth charts for a bunch of teams. Texas Tech's is 4 deep on defense. But if I asked you the 3 deep, how many Matt Wells recruited players are still in the 3 deep at Texas Tech? How many would you say?
This is like day 2 of making that reference. On
So it's your
offense, defense, is special teams included?
Defense.
Just defense.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 7.
6.
Yeah.
So this is really going to be Joey McGuire's opportunity. And in that, you have a bunch of...
Do you view that 6 as a good number or as a bad number?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like for
because it's year 3.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because you would say, especially maybe even offense or defense, did Kingsbury have 6 guys left on either side of the ball after 3 years?
Defensively, oh yeah, and offensively, yeah, I'm sure.
Okay,
yeah. Especially without the transfer portal back then, because if you have a junior or a redshirt junior, all those guys were from the previous class, and you had pretty much everyone on defense last year was a Wells recruited guy.
All right,
starter-wise.
So this 2024 class.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of safeties, maybe an edge rusher that pops up, but it defensively, you want those guys in year 2, 3. You want the nutrition program. You want the weight room. You want them to gain. You want them to redshirt. You don't want to have to play defensive players or offensive linemen immediately. Skill positions, I think Cameron Dickey and Micah Hudson will be out there and playing. But everyone else, I would love to redshirt.
And you're basically part of this. You're citing what was left over from the Wells regime actually helps the McGuire regime because he was able to retain guys and develop guys. Uh-huh. And then now this is going to allow you to develop even more, which goes back to what one of the comments was from Big 12 Media Days by both Bryce Ramirez and by Joey McGuire that spoke, and Tim DeRuyter when Jamie and Choice had him on from Lubbock Country Club from the golf tournament. That basically the strength of the defense specifically was depth and guys being able to play multiple positions or having quality backups that could come in and play real snaps.
And really even in that 6, there's a couple of guys like Marion Horn, who was in that transition class, technically Joey's first class, but had committed to Wells. So he never played for Matt Wells. So it's really even closer to 4 with a couple of those guys listed. But yeah, you have a lot of depth, and you hope that. But let me read some of the depth: redshirt freshman, true sophomore, redshirt freshman, new transfer from Guelph, Canada, Transfer redshirt freshman from TCU, true sophomore, redshirt sophomore. That's your second team defense. So, quality depth, probably. But you're putting a lot of trust in the recruiting of Joey McGuire to say these guys are going to take big steps in year two in the Big 12 and coming from high school football and coming from Canadian football.
All right, so going back to when Texas Tech fired Matt Wells in 2021, and then Sonny Cumbie takes over for the rest of the year, and then they hired Joey McGuire, during that time period, they'll allow him to get his staff and recruit players and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Are you where would you say that this team is? Is it where you expected? Is it above where you expected it? Like if you'd have said after McGuire's press conference there when they hired him that November, in going into the 2024 season, here's where you're going to be, would people have said, oh man, you're crazy, or right on target, or a little behind?
I think if you would have flipped the seasons, I think you would have been right on target. I think they probably overperformed year one, which reset some expectations. But if you go back to the opening press conference, I think you're right on trajectory.
Yeah.
And I think you've recruited better than I thought you would. I didn't think you'd be first in the Big 12. Of course, I didn't know Texas and Oklahoma were leaving when the opening press conference was happening.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3, presented today by someone not named Jamie, is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, while I set this question up, you're going to need the Texas Tech football schedule in front of you for the upcoming season. I was trying to find the exact quote, and I was going to try to play the audio for it for what led to it, because the report that I saw was talking about how Colorado is going to be playing in everybody's Super Bowl this year with regards to the Big 12, and I wanted to get the actual quote, but I couldn't find it. So without the details of it, I feel a little bad asking this question, but I also can say I don't think that Colorado would be Texas Tech's Super Bowl this year. That's not the one game on the calendar that we would circle and say this is the one that we have to win.
For the Christmas card, the new Double T scoreboard.
This could be a road game as far as I'm like.
I know.
There's road games that are the circle. You have to win. If we get one game, this is the one we're picking.
Are you buying into my Christmas card? There's people that the big games like Texas or A&M back in the day.
Yeah.
Take a picture of the Double T scoreboard, and that was your Christmas card, okay?
Right, but that could be any big. I'm talking you get one game right now on the schedule, home or away, that you would consider, and it could be Colorado. I don't personally think it is, but you get one game on the schedule where that is your Super Bowl, and then we're going to flip it. Who are you their Super Bowl? So two answers.
Yeah, so the Super Bowl comment comes from old Shedwar Sanders, who said that he never lost at the HBCU level, and that at Colorado last year he was everyone's Super Bowl. That's what it was from yesterday. Shedwar. If I was naming a Super Bowl, I would like to beat Oklahoma State the most on this schedule. They would be my Super Bowl. Alan Bowman is my Super Bowl. Ever since I created the Greatest Showman graphic in 2018. And I think the other way, it's interesting. It could be Washington State. Otherwise, it's Abilene Christian, North Texas. It's one of those. Certainly North Texas. I would assume, being the only Power 5 opponent on Abilene Christian's schedule, it's probably Abilene Christian 2 in week 1. But Washington State's an interesting one. Maybe Oregon State would be their Super Bowl, but could be Texas Tech there in Pullman.
Okay, I'm gonna pick home games.
Okay,
because I would agree with you. I think for me, I think your toughest game of the year is going to be going to Stillwater and playing Oklahoma State. I mean, if you were kind of to seed these like a golf hole, like what's the hardest hole in the course? To me, the hardest game on the course this year is the Oklahoma State game. But I'm gonna say, just from a recruiting standpoint, and the fact that when they were here last, and you had Patrick Mahomes putting up in the Ring of Honor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
Baylor.
That would be my second.
Yeah, Baylor.
Sure.
Baylor is, I think, a game that you want to circle and go, need to beat those guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And did you hear Dave Aranda's answer to why they're finally getting some recruits in? They were paying players. What's his answer?
Because now we're paying them.
Finally.
We're finally paying
Year
them.
3 into the NIL circle, we're paying players.
The lawlessness of the Breaux regime, I guess, could only carry him so far.
Well, no, Aranda was all out on the NIL and the transfer portal until the last year and a half, and he's finally.
I was trying to make a joke there.
No, I got it. I got it.
Yeah. Finally paying him. Finally
paying him,
We're
yeah.
finally paying him. Okay, we succumbed. We're paying him. I think the team that you're the Super Bowl, I think it's North Texas. I think it's because of Eric Morris, and he's the head coach. He used to be here. He didn't get to call plays here. He was, kind of shoved aside. He had to go down to Incarnate Word and kind of work his way back up, be a head coach. And I think he's a fiery guy, and he's going to have them running out of that northeast tunnel like they are the kings of the world. Jeff?
Okay, so when I think of your Super Bowl, their Super Bowl, my first thought in all of this is, while there's an important game to win for sure, it's also this is who I think is like the best team that you're going to face. And while the best team you're probably going to face this year is Oklahoma State, I hope you're on the same level as they are, because I do think Oklahoma State can win the Big 12. I haven't seen that yet, that you're on that level. I think you're working to get to that level. But the game that is next on that list would be on the road at TCU.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's the one you have to win. That's an in-state rival. That's a team that is just a season and I guess 2 seasons now, removed away from a national championship game. They've got a Big 12 title that you do not. They are your little brother when it comes to everything involved in the Big 12, when it comes to fan base, when it comes to donators, when it comes to people caring about your program. But they are the little brother that you've got to make sure you keep in place if you're a Texas Tech fan. On the flip side of that, the team that I think you might be their Super Bowl for, and this is a little speculation, it might be Baylor, because you've got their assistant coach as your head coach now. And while they're still friends, we need to beat him, especially since they beat us last year. And as much like I'm putting TCU on that plane for Texas Tech, Baylor's trying to step up. They're trying to get back up on top of the Big 12, and we're in their way. Again, in-state rival. There's a little history back and forth with the program, and you beat them last year. I think you're Baylor's Super Bowl. That's what I got.
I like both of those reasonings. I would assume those two teams are each other's Super Bowl.
And who's the Super Bowl for your opponent?
Baylor.
Both ways?
Baylor thinking you are their Super Bowl. I am saying we are Super Bowl. Our Super Bowl is TCU.
So it's the same team for you.
No, we are to TCU.
Oh, we are to TCU.
Baylor
That's right.
is to us.
Baylor is to us. Gotcha. Okay, now I understand. Okay. 7:39 this morning here on the Morning Drive. If you have an opinion on that, hit us up on the Yates Warning Center chat line. Abilene Christian certainly would look at us as a Super Bowl team.
Abilene Christian has 7 Red Raiders on the roster and Keith Patterson, former defensive coordinator here.
I feel like the head coach motivational speech will be greater from Eric Morris than Keith Patterson. That he has the bigger axe to grind.
Sure. But you could also have 3 or 4 starters that also, or at Texas Tech. I don't know if they played at Texas Tech, but
Would have a similar axe to grind.
yeah.
Okay.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
All right, Joey McGuire at Big 12 Media Days. I'm real curious. I've not heard what he said, so I'm curious to hear this with regard to the transfer portal, because a lot of people have made some comments on this, and there was one coach that made a comment. I'll get Rob's opinion on it here in a second, but here's what Joey McGuire said he would do with regard to the transfer portal.
You know, I believe in it. I think there's reasons to transfer without a doubt. But, you know, I think that you've got to have I would like to see some age under your belt, meaning that you're at a school more than 1 year and you've allowed some stuff to develop. Because what we forget is none of us were ready to play as freshmen in high school, but all of a sudden everybody's ready to play as freshmen in college. But that makes no sense. It's like one of those deals, like Mike Hudson's ready to play, but I haven't had a lot of freshmen that were ready. You know, there's been a handful. We were able to play 3 safeties last year, but they didn't start. They, you know, played a lot of special teams and was like a number 2 guy. And so I think for me with the portal, it would be good if you were saying, like, there's always reasons why, but let it get through a couple of years before you just say, hey, I'm just going to go somewhere else.
Is that realistic?
Yeah, it's realistic. It happened in college football for 100 years.
Is it realistic now?
Yeah, there's an old thing that motivational speakers and youth pastors did for they're still doing probably about the toothpaste. Have you ever seen the toothpaste demonstration?
Putting it back in the tube?
Yeah, you cut the end of the toothpaste tube off, you squeeze all the toothpaste out, and then say, can you put it back in the tube?
Mm-hmm.
The toothpaste out of the tube there in the transfer portal. But I don't think it's crazy to say that free transfers after 2 seasons at a university. It's kind of like you can't go to the NFL without 3 years out of high school. In college basketball, you have to play a season of college basketball before you can go to the NBA. I don't think it's crazy to say you have to be 2 years into a school and then get the free transfer.
But you're going to get sued if you did that now. If you put that rule in now, you're going to get sued.
Oh, there's a lot of lawsuits out there for the NCAA. I don't think one more matters.
I mean, that seems like they do not have name any of the TV lawyers that you want to over the years. Perry Mason, Barnaby Jones, Matlock. None of those guys are working for the NCAA right now because they keep getting. I mean, they don't have the, even the new guys like the Hammer or the Strong Arm or the Tank or the Gorilla or the, heavy hitter. Or none of those guys are stepping up to help.
They've got that
NCAA.
They've got that goober that was Leach's lawyer, Dolcefino or whatever his name was. Yeah, I don't know. But if the question is just, do I agree? Do I think that's a good idea? Yeah, I do. I do think it's a good idea to have some kind of restriction. I don't know what it is.
Is the portal more of a college basketball problem than it is a college football problem?
I mean, you took 15 transfers. 15. Baylor, I think, had 15 go out and 12 come back or something like that. It's prevalent in college football for sure.
Here's one more from Coach McGuire on the transfer portal. One
thing that nobody's talking about is every time you transfer, the percentage of you graduating from college, so we're forgetting. And what's crazy is the people that are making these decisions are educated people, that they're in the reason they're where they're at because of their education, but they're okay with guys transferring. And man, it's scary.
Is that a real stat?
I don't. I mean, if you want to,
yeah.
I don't know if you want to, fact check him or not. But I mean, I think he makes a point because look, anytime you transfer from one school to the next, and not all the hours are going to transfer, and look, I mean, not all those guys are going to go, hey, well, I'm not here to play school. I'm here to play football. But then you start looking at the numbers and go, okay, well, 1% of you is going to play in the NFL, and you're only going to play for 3 years.
You know what commercial I haven't seen from the NCAA in a couple years?
What's that?
1 out of every 10,000 college students goes professional in something other than sports.
Yeah.
They don't tout that much anymore. And it's probably 1 in 100,000 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes sense that the more you transfer, the less likely you are to graduate. I would assume, though, if you're transferring to a Power 5 university, there's some expectation that you're still going to graduate, because guys don't want to get players in that affect their, ADP? Because
does that even matter anymore?
Stuff. I think it does still.
Does anything even matter anymore?
Deion Sanders opened his press conference with team GPA. I guess it matters for somebody.
So let me ask you this: there was, and I forget which coach it was, and you may know, but there was a it might have been Mike Gundy, who said doing away with spring football because you still can transfer after spring football.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what you're doing is you're working with your team, and you could lose players from your team, and really said we should do away with spring football and just go to a June OTA.
That sounds like Mike Gundy. Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense too. I mean, if it's 17 practices, 14 practices, and 3 scrimmages, you could do that in June.
Well, then you're talking about giving no time off to your. I mean, these guys barely have a window to take any time off.
But at that point, you could give them a longer time off after the bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You could say, we'll start conditioning and all that, and you probably limit the gray shirts. You probably stay in high school longer if you have the June OTAs.
Yeah. Somebody says this: you do not have to play 1 year of college basketball to go to the G League or Europe. Well, that's true. Okay, that's true.
All 6 of the people that do that.
Yeah, right. How about coaches going by the same rules, meaning they have so many years coaching Division I before they can become a head coach in Division I? That's ridiculous.
Hey, coaches sign a contract, and if you're a head coach and you get fired before 2 years, there's not a lot of Division I coaches that go to a place for a year and then get a new job. They're usually there for more than a year.
But it is a real challenge, though, and that is a good question with regard to graduation, and then how much does that mean to these guys of getting a degree, and then or do they just realize, oh man, hey, I've used all my eligibility and I don't have anything to show for it. Yeah, I made some money and I bought some nice clothes and I was able to have a car that was really cool, but now I've got to go out and get a big boy job, and I don't have any skills.
There was a graphic about the Houston basketball team last year in their majors, and they were all like health relations, health and enjoyment. They were all like just variations of the word health.
Well, and the other crazy thing, which I think is really unfortunate, is the number of athletes that don't go to class, that just do everything online, and that's general students as well. And that's now a function of what happened after COVID, that it's more and more available. I mean, they have all these beautiful buildings and classrooms and everything like that, and we can do it online. That just seems to me to be the easy way out. Make people get up and go to school. Be there at 8:00. Have a Tuesday, Thursday at 7:50.
Yeah.
Get your butt out of bed.
Why do you hate people?
I don't hate people.
7:50? Why do you hate people?
That's why Joey has 6:00 practices.
Just get them up and get them going.
Yeah.
The best part of the day is the start of the day, right?
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.